This is KOOP HD1 HD3 Hornsby, radio for people, not for profit. Welcome to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Each week, we explore how your library is more than books. The library is knowledge, technology, and inspiration for our community. Hi, this is Kanya Lyons, Public Information Specialist with the Austin Public Library, and you're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Today, we're going to have a discussion about Diverse Literary Voices of Texas, which is a program that the Austin Public Library is going to host in partnership with KAZI Book Review. We are lucky enough to have Hopeton Hay from KAZI Book Review in the studio with us today to discuss this great partnership and talk about some of the authors that are going to be featured in panel interviews. Welcome, Hopeton.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be partnering with the Austin Public Library.
Absolutely. Well, so first, I guess, can you tell me a little bit about the history of this program? This will be the second annual celebration.
Yes, it is. We did the first celebration of Diverse Literary Voices in December of 2016. And my goal when I pulled that event together was really to make sure that the Austin community was very aware of the many talented authors of color that we had both in the city of Austin and across the state of Texas. And I also thought that it was very important that all of us look to read books, especially with my love of fiction, novels about other cultures and other cities, because with the challenges that we're facing in the country today, I thought it was very important that we try to unite as one by learning to read and understand and accept other cultures. And I thought books written about other cultures is one way that you can learn that while there are differences between all of us, there's also a lot that we all have in common.
Absolutely. And the library is really one of the places where we have the same mission and the same values. And it's very important to us as well to really showcase all the different voices in our community. So I think this is a great partnership. Can you tell me a little bit about what this year's program is going to look like? Who are some of the editors and authors we're going to have on hand for the panels?
Well, we're very, very excited about this year. We're going to have Nikki Drayden. She's a first-time science fiction writer. She wrote a book called The Prey of Gods. It's a sci-fi / thriller / supernatural novel set in South Africa. We have John Moran Gonzalez. He is the editor of the Cambridge Companion to Latina and Latino American Literature. He's also the director of the Center for Mexican American Studies at the University of Texas at Austin. Wow. We have Shatoyli Sen. She is the author of her very first novel, The Pathless Sky. This is a novel set in a fictional country in the East, and it is an incredible love story and also deals with going through cultural conflicts. We also have Jacob Grovey. He was part of our program last year. Last year, we talked about his book, Dance of the Broken. This year, we're going to be talking about his children's book, his very first children's book, The Adventures of Austin, A Visit to Dino Land. We're also going to have one of my favorites here in Austin, Natalia Sylvester. She has a new book coming out. It's coming out in March of 2018 called Everyone Knows You Go Home, focusing on a Mexican-American immigrant family. We have Michael Hurd. He is the author of Thursday Night Lights, the story of black high school football in Texas, talking about the interscholastic league that served black high schools in Texas, because up until, I believe it was the 1970s, black high schools were not allowed to participate in the interscholastic league that was for majority schools. We also have Karen Kosi Cheryshev. She is a professor of history at the University, Texas Southern University, and she is also the editor of a book by Angie Brown. Now, Angie Brown is believed to be the first black romance writer here in Texas, and she published her black romance, Angie Brown, Lillian Jones Horace did, in 1949. So Karen has also written a book about Lillian Jones Horace, and we're actually going to have on that panel with her Evelyn Palfrey, very well-known local black romance writer, along with Evelyn Anderson. And so we're going to be talking about the past, present, and future of black romance novels. So That's just giving you sort of a quick overview of what to expect at the celebration of Diverse Literary Voices of Texas.
I am so excited. This is really going to be amazing. For those of you just joining us, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM, koop.org. And we're discussing the celebration of Diverse Literary Voices of Texas, which is a program that will be at the Austin Central Library on Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 5 p.m. And the Austin Central Library is located at 710 West Cesar Chavez Street. The program will be taking place on the 6th floor. A lot of these books will be on hand, ready for people to check out from the library, but for those people who want to have a copy of the book and perhaps get it signed by one of the authors or editors, Book People will be offering books. So you have gotten some support from the City of Austin Cultural Arts Division.
Absolutely. I think the City of Austin Cultural Arts Division is an incredible organization that really looks to nurture the talent of writers and artists or others in the city. And so we're just excited that for the second year in a row, we're being supported by the Cultural Arts Division.
You host a weekly radio show whereupon you interview authors, and this is KAZI Book Review. Will you tell me a little bit about KAZI Book Review?
Yeah, actually, the strange thing is how it was founded. When I founded KAZI Book Review in May of 2009, it wasn't really to talk about all kinds of books. I also host another show on KAZI called Economic Perspectives. And so what I found was I was getting a lot of press releases about great business books that I wanted to talk about on Economic Perspectives, but I didn't want Economic Perspectives to be solely a book show. And it's really a show that really focuses on providing information to help empower people economically. So I'll have someone from Big Austin or People Fund talking about how to get a loan. I'd have representatives talking about how to find a job. And so the whole purpose of Economic Perspectives is really to help people who want to succeed in business, who want to learn how to manage their finances better, or who want some career advice, or to talk about economic development policy, especially as it impacts the minority community. So I found I was getting all these books. I went to our program director and I said, well, I'm thinking I might want to do a little book show. And so I did my first show, and ironically, my first show on May 31st, 2009 featured an author named T.J. Stiles. And T.J. Stiles had written a book about Cornelius Vanderbilt, the railroad tycoon from the late 19th century. And the name of the book was The Last Tycoon. Well, that book ended up winning a Pulitzer Prize for a biography. But Kismet intervened. So I had a friend in Houston who told me that her daughter had written a book. And her daughter's name is Attica Locke. And the book was called Blackwater Rising. So she asked me if I'd be interested in interviewing her. So at that point, I was really looking at just doing business books. But then getting a call about this novel, daughter of a friend of mine, I said, I'll take a look at that book. And then I read the book, and I thought it was an absolutely fantastic book. I did an interview with Attica Locke, the second show for KZI Book Review, in June of 2009. And after I did that interview, what I decided was, why limit myself to business books? Why not interview books of authors of any type of subject that I'm interested in? I also did an interview with the author who wrote a book a fictional book about what if Abraham Lincoln had not been assassinated. What if Abraham Lincoln was actually being up for being pushed out of office in 1865? And so it was called The Impeachment of Abraham Lincoln. And so from that point on, I just decided with KZI Book Review, what I was going to do is try to interview a wide variety of authors, local authors, national authors. I've interviewed authors in Thailand, Nigeria, Ireland, Australia. So I've tried to make it a show that goes all over the world, but also a lot of local Austin authors that come on. And I'm really focusing on books that I think are going to be very entertaining, books that I think could be very informative, books that address major social issues. I do a lot of literary fiction that focuses on the minority community. But as we discussed earlier, I'm also very interested in books that expose us to different cultures.
We're going to take a little break and listen to some announcements, and then after the break, we'll finish talking about the celebration of Diverse Literary Voices of Texas, which is a program that will be at the Austin Central Library on Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 5 p.m.
Saturday, February 24th, in honor of African American History Month and communities of color, the Austin Public Library and KAZI Book Review will host the second annual celebration of Diverse Literary Voices of Texas. There will be author readings as well as panel discussions on cultural diversity African American education, Mexican American literature, and social justice in literature. Participating authors include Natalie Sylvester, John Moran Gonzalez, Naima Koster, Karen Kossi-Chernyshev, Chitali Sin, Nikki Drayden, Evelyn Palfrey, Evelyn Anderson, and Michael Hurd. Panel discussions will be followed by author signings. The festival will be at the Central Library from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, Saturday, February 24th.
Hey there, Austin. Teen Program Specialist Michael Harley from the Downtown Central Library here. There are other teen Harry Potter fans out there, but you're probably having trouble finding them. They'll all be converging on the Central Library on Sunday, February 25th at 2 p.m. to meet at the third floor corridor. Our new Harry Potter Club just for teens ages 13 to 18. Teen Potter fans will be meeting once a month to chat all things Wizarding World, from Harry Potter to Fantastic Beasts and more, with trivia, activities, and games. The magic begins on February 25th at 2 p.m. at the Downtown Central Library, with more meetings once a month through May. More details for these and additional programs can be found at library.austintexas.gov/events.
This is Ann Minner, Managing Librarian at the Old Quarry Branch. I get to highlight an interesting Austin Public Library program happening for children this month. Yoga is a non-competitive fitness activity providing a stronger, more flexible body, greater focus, and overall relaxation. Studies have shown that kids who practice yoga have less anxiety, manage stress effectively, sleep better, concentrate longer, get along better with others, and have a deep and true sense of who they are in the world. This month, registered yoga instructor Ali Kamas leads a fun and playful session of yoga for kids aged 7 to 12. Adult companions are also welcome to participate. Kids yoga is being offered at the Yarborough branch on the following Mondays, February 26th, March 5th, March 19th, and March 26th from 3:30 p.m. to 4:15 p.m. Details about this special program are at library.austintexas.gov/events.
The Texas Talking Book Program provides digital audio, large print, and braille books and magazines to Texans who cannot read standard print due to qualifying visual, physical, or reading disabilities. Reader advisors are on hand to help navigate patrons through thousands of titles available for download to our free digital audio player. To see if you qualify or for more information, visit www.texastalkingbooks.org.
You're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM and KOOP.org. Radio for people, not for profit.
Austin may boast it's the music capital of the world, but there isn't another city outside of Hollywood that loves the movies more, and that's why Lights Camera Austin takes a weekly look at what's happening in the world of film. We'll have interviews with homegrown and out-of-town talent, reviews of the latest releases, and an events guide that will keep you at the cinema 7 nights a week. So don't be a slacker. Please join me, Robert Sims, from 2 to 3 p.m. Thursdays for Lights, Camera, Austin.
Hi, welcome back to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM and streaming at koop.org. Today's subject is the celebration of diverse literary voices of Texas, which is a program that the Austin Public Library is doing in partnership with KAZI Book Review. The program and the radio show are hosted by Hopeton Hay, who is here right now with me in the studio. Welcome back, Hopeton.
Thank you, thank you. I remember when Co-op got started many, many years ago, right down the, downtown, actually. Their very first studios were downtown, so we were real excited when we had another fellow community radio station here in Austin.
Well, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about KAZI, and it's been around, I guess it sounds like longer than Co-op Radio, and it's the African American community radio station for Austin, is that correct?
Well, that's correct. It was started back in 1982, so we've been on the air for 36 years. We have about 100 programmers, people who put on shows, who volunteer their time to put on these shows. We have an incredible array of things we do on the show. We have our public affairs program. We're probably best known for the wake-up call from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., Monday through Friday. We have quite a few music shows. We cover all genres. We have jazz, we have reggae, we have blues, we have R&B, we have hip-hop, we have an educational show. So KZI is, like a lot of community radio station, is really serves a broad swath of interest, and we're an educational radio station. So our number one goal really is to educate the community.
Yeah, and that has so much in common with what the Austin Public Library is doing, which is also, we're just really supporting a diverse community interests and providing resources and information. And so it really is a perfect match for the Austin Public Library to be partnering with.
Can I praise the Austin Public Library?
Of course.
I'm a huge fan of libraries. Matter of fact, my very first regular job at the age of 14 was working at the junior high school library, where I went to school in New Orleans, Louisiana, Andrew J. Bell Junior High School Library in ninth grade. I worked for a couple of years from 11th grade through my sophomore year in college at the New Orleans Public Library, a local library in the community I lived in called Nora Navarre Library, and that branch is still open to this day. I got exposed Kanya, to so many different authors. Matter of fact, my exposure to black writers actually came from going to the Nora Navarre Community Library in New Orleans, Louisiana. So I've always been a huge fan of libraries. Librarians, when you're looking for information, Kanya, librarians are always there, ready to help you to find different books and different things. So I just wanted to say I'm a huge fan of libraries, and I don't know where I would be today without the library in New Orleans.
Thank you so much for saying that. I also have been a lifelong library user and library lover, so I'm right there with you. If you're just joining us right now, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, and we're talking with Hopeton Hay, who is the producer and host of KAZI Book Review, which is a weekly radio program on KAZI, and also producer of the Celebration of Diverse Literary Voices of Texas. This year, we're going to have the second annual Celebration of Diverse Literary Voices of Texas at the new Central Library in Austin, Texas, which is located at 710 West Cesar Chavez Street. And the program is taking place Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 5 p.m., and this date was chosen partially because we wanted, even though it's a celebration of all different diverse voices, we also wanted it to take place in February in celebration of African American History Month. And, to really just let the community know that we really value diverse voices and all different perspectives at the Austin Public Library. So you're going to have a number of authors in person doing panel discussions of their books, and you went through the list of folks earlier. And so what kinds of topics are you going to have a focus on?
Well, I think if we go back, for example, to Michael Hurt, Thursday Night Lights, the story of black high school football, I think that's so appropriate for Black History Month. People have an understanding that for a long time, African-American high school football teams could not compete with white high school football teams throughout the state of Texas. And what's more important is Michael Hurt in the book Thursday Night Lights, he really brings back the stories that have been lost of all the great high school football players that played at these segregated high schools across the state of Texas, and making sure that they get their due for all that they accomplished and all that they were able to achieve. And so we're real excited to have Michael Hurt there talking about Thursday Night Lights. I think when we look at Nikki Drayden, once again going to Black History Month, the first black sci-fi writer I know of out of Austin, Texas, writing her very first novel and incorporating this new genre called Afrofuturism. So we're going into, I believe, 2045 South Africa. She takes some of these stories, some of the legends of gods in South Africa and incorporates that into her novel, also incorporating the future into their novel. So we have this sort of supernatural element along with, of course, the science fiction side and creating new technologies in her novels. And she's actually in computers as a career. So having a black sci-fi writer based here in Austin, Texas, writing such a wonderful book. And then like Natalia Sylvester, her family immigrated from Peru. She lived in Peru until she was 4 or 5 years old, then ended up growing up in Miami. And I remember reading her very first book, which was set in Peru about a kidnapping. Incredible book. Natalia Sylvester is just an incredible author. And she's coming out with her second novel with the focus, how apropos, about a Mexican-American family and immigration. So I'm real excited about the opportunity to have Natalia Sylvester there to talk about her book. And then the great work that John Moran Gonzalez is doing over there with the Center for Mexican-American Studies at the University of Texas at Austin. He's not only editor, he's also written some books himself, but the importance of Latino and Latina American literature and sharing what he knows, the knowledge of all the different types of writings that have gone on. Matter of fact, when I interviewed him last year, in January, we talked about a book where he talked about the literature written during the celebration of the centennial of the Texas independence. And one of the things that he found was literature written by Mexican Americans that was providing an alternative view about the celebration of the independence of Texas. Because, of course, if you know your history, you know, of course, Texas was part of Mexico, and then we had the Mexican-American War under President James K. Polk, and James K. Polk had been pushing to try to buy California from Mexico. So there is a lot of imperialism that was going on, but to have an alternative view, a different view, a Mexican-American view of the independence of Texas, the work that John Moran Gonzalez did was just incredible. I did want to also talk a little bit about The Path of Sky by Troy Lucena, incredible novel, her very first novel. She's Indian American. And what was really, really great about that novel and what she'll be talking about at the celebration of diverse literary voices is she created this fictional country. And the protagonist is a young woman from an oppressed minority in this country. And she falls in love with a young man who comes from the majority. So basically, sort of the upper class, we're part of the leading group in this country, fall in love with a young woman who comes from a group within the country, an ethnic group within the country that is looked down upon. And how she was able to delicately deal with this type of conflict and the emotional conflict that occurred. And I thought that novel was an incredible novel. I remember asking her why she didn't decide to set it in an existing country. And she said, well, you know, it was incredibly hard trying to create a whole new country. But that novel was just an absolutely amazing novel. We have some amazing writers here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, we're so lucky to live in such a vibrant creative community where we have all these people close at hand who are telling beautiful stories. And some of these stories, as you noted, are fictional and some are nonfiction. So just to let people know that there will be a variety of voices and a variety of styles of writing at this program. And so if people are out there listening and they want to find out more about this program, there are some details on the library's website at library.austintexas.gov/central. Again, the program details, we're talking about the celebration of diverse literary voices of Texas that will take place Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Austin Central Library, which is now located at 710 West Cesar Chavez Street. And the program takes place on the 6th floor. The program is open to the public. There's parking garage at the Central Library. It can fill up pretty quickly on a Saturday, so close by is the City Hall parking garage, and they tend to have a little bit more space. So I'm so grateful that you've been here to tell us a little bit about the program and about these authors and the stories that they're telling. Can you talk a little bit about the history of literature and writers in Austin, like just in terms of, you've been hosting this show for almost a decade now, KAZI Book Review. So let's talk about the last 9 years of literary history in Austin. What are some of the trends or some of the high points that you have experienced in your?
Well, I think one of the things that's really interesting is Austin has had quite a few people that have moved here who have written some incredible books. Let's take Meg Gardner. Meg Gardner is a thriller writer. Was a law professor, graduate of the Stanford University Law School, and I believe it was her very first book was praised by Stephen King. She's an Edgar Award-winning writer. And for those who may not be familiar, the Mystery Writers of America have their own awards they give out every year. And the most prestigious award you can get is the Edgar Awards. And as we said earlier, we had Shatoyli Sem, who once again is someone who's not originally from Austin but moved here to Austin. So I think one of the things I've seen over the years is really that Austin has become somewhat of a destination for people. And that we have over there, of course, at the University of Texas at Austin, we have the Missioner School for Writing. I know that's not the exact name, Missioner School for Fiction or whatever it's called, not a Missioner School, but the Writing Center over there. And so I think Austin has become a bit of a destination. Also, I think one of the things I've really have enjoyed is the international writers. And so over the years, you know, as a host, you start off with what you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. And then I think part of growing as a host and producer of a book show is to go into genres and to go into areas that you're not familiar with. So as I shared with you earlier, I was originally big into crime fiction. Mm-hmm. which is still an important part of what we do. Matter of fact, the crime fiction coordinator for book people who will be selling books at the celebration of diverse literary voices, Scott Montgomery, is a monthly guest on KAZI Book Review, and we talk with him about his crime fiction picks of the week. Matter of fact, today, Meg Gardner, the thriller writer here in Austin, Texas, her and her husband chose to move to Austin, Texas. We'll also be doing a live interview about her latest thriller book called Into the Nowhere. And so I think Austin has become a little bit of a destination. We have the Texas Book Festival. I've been able to moderate sessions at the Texas Book Festival. I've had the Texas Book Festival executive directors on. I've had writers on who were appearing at the Texas Book Festival. One of my favorite things was having Wendell Pierce, who is a well-known actor and who had written a book and was appearing at the Texas Book Festival, I believe it was last year, 2016, I think it was. And it was exciting for me because I went to high school with Wendell Pierce. So I think one of the great things about being a host of a show like KZI Book Review is really getting an opportunity to see the growth and the diversity and the recognition of the importance of all the diverse authors. National Book Award winner Jasmine Ward, who won the National Book Award for the second time, she's been a guest on KZI Book Review. So we've had quite a few National Book Award winners. We've had a few Pulitzer Prize winners on KZI Book Review. But the most important thing is getting books on that make a difference in people's lives. And one of the things I do want to emphasize is that fiction can make a difference. Fiction can tell the truth. Fiction can help you to see who you are and maybe give you a different perspective on books, on relationships, on life. Not just nonfiction, not just biographies, not just history, but also fiction.
Very true words, Hopeton. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I just want to let people know that the library will have many of these books on hand for checkout, and also book people will be on hand with copies of books that can be signed by authors and editors. This is going to be taking place Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 5 p.m. This is the celebration of diverse literary voices of Texas at the Central Library in Austin, Texas, 710 West Cesar Chavez Street on the 6th floor.
If I wasn't producing this event, I would be attending it.
Absolutely, me too. Well, I really appreciate you coming in to talk with us today and share your amazing wealth of knowledge about the local literary scene, and thank you so much, Hopeton.
Thank you for having me.
So I just want to make one quick correction. It's actually at the Central Library in the Special Events Center, which is on the first floor. But we really thank Hopeton for doing that interview. And I also want to thank our two volunteers for all the work that they put into this radio program, helping us out here. And DJ, who is our illustrious programmer and engineer on Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, has a few words to say about the upcoming co-op membership drive.
Hi, Kanya. Thanks so much. So co-op will be doing our membership drive. We only do this twice a year, and we only do it because we are listener-supported, community-run radio here at KOOP. So next week on Volumes will be a membership drive show, and you can call 512-472-5667 during that time and become a member of Co-op Radio. We do have some great thank you gifts available to you, but the most important thing is for you to support Co-op Radio and to support Volumes. I'm a retired librarian. Perhaps there are other retired librarians out there, or people out there who have an association with the Austin Public Library. So call 512-472-5667 next week during Volumes for our spring membership drive. Thanks, Kanya.
Thank you so much, DJ. We love that you love the library and that you are helping us out here with this Volumes show.
This has been a whole lot of fun for me.
Well, that's all for today. Thanks. Thanks for listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Special thanks to our producer, DJ Harris, and to the musicians who composed and performed our original theme song, Andrew Noble on violin, Kirk Duvall on guitar, and Mike Wheat on percussion. And thanks to you, our listeners. Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, airs Wednesday afternoons at 2:30 on Co-op 91.7 FM and KOOP.org. If you catch us mid-show, full episodes and other details can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes.